Hello everybody, many of you wrote in asking me for a parenting video or tips and advice on parenting. Frankly, I don't think I'm a perfect parent. Every day I'm learning something new and I'm struggling many a times as well. And the number of kids that you have does not make you a perfect parent either. In my case, there are 3 kids. I have an elder daughter who is about 13 and the younger kids, they are twins, a boy and a girl, about 8. What I'm going to tell you is what I believe in. I believe that parenting is all about asking yourself some really uncomfortable questions, finding the answers and growing and evolving through it all to be a better person. Because frankly, children don't learn what you teach them, they learn who you are. So here in this video, I'm going to talk about those 12 questions that you need to ask yourself to be a better parent. So before we get going, I would like to talk to you about this wonderful book that I had read and in which was written these most famous lines about children. The book is called The Prophet and it was written by Khalil Gibran. In that he speaks about children. He says, "Your children are not your children. They are sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. They come through you, but not from you. And though they are with you, they belong not to you." So here are the 12 questions for you, but please stay with me till the very end because there is a bonus surprise question for you back on at the end. So let's get going. Question number 1. Do you see your child for who he or she is or who you want them to be? So what keeps a child from being seen or understood? When we see our child through a prism of our desires, our expectations and even baggage, labeling them like, she's not into art, she's very tomboyish, no, he's a crybaby. So the moment you label them and put them in a box, you're kind of forcing their path ahead. Instead of that, it's important that we recognize that our children are constantly changing, evolving. What they like today might not be the case tomorrow. The only thing we can do is be in the present with them, be very deeply involved with them and understand their emotions, their fears and insecurities instead of imposing our ideas onto them. Are you truly present when your child is with you, or are you constantly distracted by the sounds and the noises around you? Yes, this is a very tough one. I know that phone, my God, social media, work, everything is on that phone. And right in the thick of it, when you're busy with something, your kid walks up to you and says something to you and you are wondering like, oh my God, let me just finish this. And then I will turn my attention to him. But it doesn't work that way. In fact, your child takes priority because many a times, even in situations on emergencies, the child might walk up to you and say something completely different from what the underlying problem is. So for instance, my kids come and tell me that they have a tummy ache, and that tummy ache might not be a real tummy ache. It's because that they are feeling sleepy. They want to be put to bed. So you need to pay complete attention to what they are saying in order to understand and kind of break down that code language and figure out what is going on. Are you parenting in a way that's best for your child, or are you just repeating what you saw when you were growing up? This is indeed very deep. You need to dig back to your childhood memories and find out what did you really like about the way you were raised and what you disliked. My mother was not physically affectionate as I was growing up. So probably an overcompensation, but I do hug my children and kiss them a lot, an awful lot, so much so that my teenager daughter runs away from me every time I go for a huggy. Well, this is something which needs to be really, really understood through introspection. You need to really go back and you need to see where you are exactly repeating how your parents were, or repeating their mistakes, or even repeating the good things that they did. Do I consider the individual need of every child? When you have more than a kid, well, this applies in a big way. I have 3 kids and 3 of them face absolutely different directions. Nobody has any similarity when it comes to likes, dislikes, preferences, things that they like to do, how they go about their life. Everything is absolutely different. One of my daughters, a younger daughter, she needs a lot of structure in her life. So she is kind of planned about how she wants the day, what she will do for tomorrow, etc., etc. So the way she approaches her day-to-day day-to-day pattern itself is very different from my son, who has no structure at all. If he has online classes at 8:30, he will make it a point to wake up at 8:45 a.m. So what he needs from me and what my daughter needs from me are very different things. I need to identify the special need first and then cater to that requirement as a parent. So am I encouraging my child to question, or am I curbing their impulse to question? In my house, 5 W's and 1 H. These are the 5, this is the basic tenet of journalism, which is who, what, where, why and when, plus 1 H, which is how. Every sentence begins with one of these words, and this goes around and round the dining table, and every time we tell them something. Many times it is about, Mama, why did you behave this way? Why did you tell me that? You shouldn't be doing this. Tell me, explain why you did it. And these kind of things really put you in a spot, but yes, you have to give them answers, and you have to encourage them to find the answers for themselves too. Am I making them independent, or do I enjoy the dependence they have on me? Well, as parents, many times we enjoy the fact that they are dependent on us and they need us. But the problem is, the more they need us, the less self-sufficient they become. And it's all about growing up and leaving the nest eventually, isn't it? So if we don't make them self-sufficient at home, how are they going to find their independence outside the homes? So it's important that as children, we give them small responsibilities and small chores around the house. Teach them how to cook, or probably they can experiment in the kitchen themselves under supervision, so that slowly but surely they take these tiny steps towards independence and self-sufficiency. Am I consciously or unconsciously separating my child from the others, or am I telling her that we are essentially all the same? Now, I remember when my child was the elder one was about 5 years old, she came back home from school one day and she asked me, Mama, do we go to the church or do we go to the temple? And it was in Malayalam that she asked, Nammal ambalthi ponarano, palli ponarano. And I was completely baffled that till then she never understood that there was some kind of a separation on the basis of religion. We used to go everywhere, and we went to the church, she would go and pray there, and there was a temple, she would go and pray there as well. Children do not understand religion, caste, all these kind of things that separate us from each other. They don't understand vengeance and hatred. We as adults put it into their heads. We have to be very conscious about what discussions we have with other adults, because they're simply absorbing it. Am I empowering him to express his emotions and articulate them, or do I tend to shut it all down? Now we are in a mall, we have gone shopping, but my child is throwing a tantrum. He's crying, screaming, yelling, and what do I tend to tell him? Look at people, they are looking at you, my God, just keep shut. Why are you making all this noise? My God. And you get into a panic mode without understanding that the child is throwing a tantrum because deep down he is feeling hurt, upset, hungry, sleepy, tired. It could be a variety of reasons. But instead of understanding what that reason is, we tend to put the lid on it, and the child feels all bottled up emotionally. If we want our child to grow up to be an emotionally well-adjusted adult, it is necessary that we need to look at every emotion, every behavior attentively. Am I teaching my child the value of resources, whether it's money, power, energy, or am I telling him that everything is at his disposal? Now, we live in a world which is environmentally getting into a very fragile zone. There are lots of environmental issues that we are dealing with. We need to curb the use of plastics, of energy, so that our next generations can enjoy all that we did. So it's very important that we make them aware about the limited resources that we have on this planet, so that the next generation can live a very fruitful life. Do you care more about what others think of your child, or what the child thinks of himself or herself? Our friends, our peers kind of put their perceptions onto our heads, and we kind of put it or pass it on to our children. I remember when my daughter was about 4 or 5 years old, a friend of mine just called up and she said, you know, Dhanya, I always see your daughter play with the boys, and why are you letting her play with the boys? My daughter was particularly fond of wakeboarding and climbing on trees or maybe cycling around with the boys, and she couldn't help it if there were not many girls playing alongside with her. So she was always found with this group of boys her age, and it made me pause for a second and think, because when she told me, my initial reaction was, should I talk to her? And then I realized that it has to be let her be. Am I able to be consistent, emotionally stable, and present for my child? Our children approach us with their problems. We have just had a fight with our boss or with our spouse, and immediately our reaction is either aggression or maybe we end up being volatile. On another day, the child might approach us, we might be sad or emotionally very, very down, and we might respond with a sense of detachment towards our children. This affects our kid in a big way. It makes them emotionally unstable adults in the long run. So it is very important that we practice a lot of self-awareness. In fact, if I give you an example, alcoholic parents are a classic example of how they hamper the child's emotional development by not being consistent in their approach towards their children. Your frame of mind matters in a big way. Am I over-parenting? Now that is a big one. Now this COVID times, I've seen a lot of parents running here and there trying to find the right kind of online activity for their children so that they will be busy and occupied. After spending so many hours online, why would you want your child to spend another 2 to 3 hours in front of the computer again? Let them get bored. Let them sit and paint the cardboard boxes or make something out of the materials that are lying around the house. Let them just be. This is an example of overparenting. Another example is where you actually run behind teachers and fight with the teachers for extra marks for your child. A mark or two is not going to make a difference in your child's life. We all know that we have reached so far without those extra grades. Now for the bonus question. What memories do I want my child to have when he or she grows up? I have no clue about that. I don't know what memories they're going to carry from their childhood. But I just hope that whatever it is, it just makes them turn back and smile. Now, if you have any questions that you would like to ask yourself as a parent, do share it with me. I would like to know what you think. And also tell me about this video. If you like the video, please do remember to leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear from all of you. Anyway, if you like this video, please do remember to subscribe and share it with your friends and family. Also press the bell icon for further notifications. Thanks so much for watching and love to your children. Take care.